Angel-6942.
Angel-6942. Calling in.
Angel-6942.
Sorry. I must have fallen asleep. It's been happening more and more lately. I know the host and I have been having these usual blackouts and these dreams, but apart from the dreams about trees and the feeling of floating, I've been getting these dreams about human churches and doors. And the strange thing is, I think the human host hasn't been getting these dreams. It's just been me, and it's been affecting me more and making me more tired. Anyway, I better get down to the report. The date. Oh, sorry. The date in human years is Friday, the 20th of August 2021. And the big news this week is about a country in the Middle East called Afghanistan. Called Afghanistan. And 20 years ago, there was a very bad act by a load of terrorists on a building in the USA where planes flew into it, and a lot of people died, and a lot of people died in other plane crashes that was arranged by terrorists. And the USA felt that this country called Afghanistan was hiding the terrorists. So they invaded Afghanistan with the support of the UK and other Western countries to overthrow the Taliban, who were the leaders at that time. Now this worked, and they sort of trained up the Afghan army and got in new governments through elections. Though people were a bit worried about the government, some people felt the government was a bit corrupt, but who knows. And they put in lots and lots of programs to help the people in Afghanistan, especially women who had previously to that had not many rights and weren't allowed access to education or to work because the Taliban held very, very fundamental beliefs about the roles of people that follow their religion, and what they should and shouldn't do, and what they should and shouldn't wear. Now, the problem with this was that it cost a lot of money and resources. So a lot of people had died in Afghanistan, and a lot of money was spent in Afghanistan. So now the previous leader, the orange one, do you remember the orange one? The one that they wanted to stick in a peach, but he wouldn't fit. That one. I should have used an orange. Anyway, the orange one, he had come to a deal with the Taliban that they the USA would leave at a certain time this year, as long as the Taliban sort of kept to these deals or something like that. So he made this agreement, but then he was chucked out, and the new leader called Joe came in. And Joe had decided to keep this deal, even though he had overthrown a lot of other deals that the orange one had done, like building walls and something about the health service and lots of things like that. He overthrew that one, but he thought this one he would keep. And Joe wanted to do this quickly, get out very, very quickly. Maybe he had a barbecue to go to or something. Anyway, so he withdrew his troops over the past few weeks, taking things out, like the armed forces and, their machines and airplanes and things like that. And they thought that everything would be fine, nothing disastrous would happen. But unfortunately, the Taliban started to take over very, very quickly, walking into sort of cities and towns and taking over. And they've taken over the capital called Kabul of Afghanistan. And because the army had no resources like planes and things like that, they had to give up quickly. And because the army gave up quickly, the government had to go away very quickly because they had no army to protect them. So a lot of people who, especially women and people who had helped the West, like translators, were very, very worried because the Taliban have reputations of killing people and having retribution on people they see as their enemies and not being very nice to them, and also forcing women to wear certain things and perform certain roles and sort of like taking girls away to marry their soldiers. So a lot of people have been trying to get out of the country. A lot of them who worked for the government, and a lot of Western people as well, and are from other countries have been helping. They have been trying to get out, and despite assurances from the Taliban that they say they're the new Taliban, there's been pictures of the babies being handed over to soldiers and people sort of flying on planes and trying to get off planes and falling off planes because they couldn't get off. And there's been a big emergency. So it's been very upsetting for a lot of people watching these things happen. And as usual in the West, it's started loads and loads of arguments and questions in their parliament, finger pointing and saying it's your fault and you should have done that and you shouldn't have done that. And they were talking about public inquiries so that they could spend a lot of time talking about things and not doing things until they sort of got a report out of it. Everybody's been talking apart from one of the foreign ministers called Dominic, because he's not been talking to anybody because he's been on a nice holiday. And he said that one of his ministers, somebody who worked for him, has been talking to the ministers in Afghanistan, though apparently it hasn't happened. But I think it's something they call the people that work, that are quite high up, that get paid a lot. They call it working smart but not working hard, which I think means just getting somebody else to do the job you're paid for. So I suppose it is quite smart for them. Anyway, and also Joe, the new leader, who knows about all these things because something happened similar in Vietnam a long time ago, which is another country the USA had invaded. Oh, but Joe didn't get involved in that because even though a lot of because he was a student at the time, and a lot of his fellow students were drafted to fight in the Vietnam War, and unfortunately a lot of them died or was injured. Joe managed to get out of it. He managed to dodge the draft 3 or 4 times apparently. I don't know how. But anyway, connections. Maybe he worked smart and not worked hard. But anyway, so he has been talking about this, and he said, no, it's not all my fault. And I don't regret doing it, and I won't change my mind, and I won't put people back in. But it's a fault of the Afghan army and the Afghan government for running away and being cowards. That's nice, isn't it? Yeah. And also very surprising is that, now remember that the Orange leader had lots and lots and lots of followers. You know, the people that gathered in the square and sort of held big orange balloons that looked like him, I presume in tribute, and shouted out and screamed his name really enthusiastically. And they have been very, very quiet. You thought they would have had a go at Joe. Oh, but they haven't, no. But maybe they've been very, very chilled now. You know, they're very, very chilled. Maybe they've got friends in Bury, which is a place near Manchester, because apparently in Bury they found £1 million worth of cannabis in a townhouse, and it was being grown in this townhouse out of 5 rooms. Yeah, that's a lot of cannabis. And it was found when firemen broke into the house to actually look for the reasons of a flood, because the house was flooded. Maybe because, you know, the owners had forgotten to sort of turn off the taps, and they went out for a snack. Because cannabis apparently makes you very, very hungry and want snacks. And with £1 million worth of cannabis to smoke, they must have been famished, really, really hungry, and ran out. And maybe that's why there's been a food shortage this week. There has, because there's a restaurant called Nando's Chicken that sells chicken. And unfortunately this week they had to close shops because they ran out of chicken, which is very unfortunate. And so they're only left with olives and chips to sell. And I suppose olives and chips aren't very satisfying. But I suppose chips are a very, very good snack, and a lot of people like chips and eat chips. And maybe that's why there's also been a problem with production of cars this week, because apparently a car producer called Toyota said they're going to shut down a lot of their factories and reduce the production of cars by 40% because they're running out of chips. They're running out of chips, and it must be very, very hungry for those people on the production line to build those cars. And chips are probably the ideal snacks, you know, because, I mean, it's greasy and their hands are greasy already from sort of putting all the engines together. So it doesn't make a difference, you know. Oh, snacks. Yes, snacks are very good. Oh, and maybe that's what that woman in Australia was looking for, because she was shopping in an Australian shop called Woolworths that used to be in the UK, but they've shut. And Woolworths is very famous for its pick and mix, where they look for snacks. And so she's probably there looking at the pick and mix, you know, for like sugar mice and her flying saucers and her jelly snakes and worms and licorice snakes. And she apparently found a real snake in the shelves looking back at her. Yeah, a real snake. But she was very, very chilled. She didn't scream at all. She was chilled. Maybe because she had friends in Bury. But she said, no, I'll handle this. And she went back home and she got a snake bag. She must do a lot with snakes. She got a snake bag and went back to the shop, the Woolworths, and sort of popped the snake back into the bag, and then took it away, presumably to release it into the wild, I hope, and not make a snake bag out of the snake that was in the snake bag. No, surely not. No. Anyway, I'll get back to you next week.
There's a guy works down the chip shop, swears he's Elvis. Just like you swore to me that you'll be true. There's a guy works down the chip shop, swears he's Elvis. But he's a liar and I'm not sure about you.